pronounce your name, Andrew?
Andrzej Grygier, actually.
Before we get into this, just kind of introduce yourself and what you do, and then we'll get into the questions here.
Okay, so my name is Andrzej Grygier. I'm a classical guitarist, but and actually my work is more focused on the classical music. Uh, I play mainly solo classical guitar, but also I started playing jazz guitar a couple of years ago. So it is also not only my kind of a hobby, but I would say it's also right now of kind of a lifestyle of being trying to be a jazz guitarist, but as well a classical guitarist. And my life is focused on the music. I live with the music. I live in music, and it's all actually I do every day.
That's awesome. So tell me about some of your awards some of the awards that you've received. There was one in Baltimore, I believe.
In Baltimore, it was a competition, I think, 3 years ago. It's supposed to be 4 years ago, but at the time I remember there was an epidemic.
Oh yeah.
And my teacher, Łukasz Kropaczewski, he wanted me to go actually 4 years ago, but I said no, it's too much program to focus on. I have some other stuff, and I was also afraid that I would not just do it, and because it's the work actually the composition were very hard and a lot of program to process. But after the 1 year, fortunately, actually the epidemic came, and I have 1 more year to prepare for it.
Nice.
And I got accepted because I don't know how many of the competitors were in the first round actually, but probably there was a lot of competitors because of the prize that wasn't there.
Right.
And yeah, I got into the first live round in Baltimore, and after that, what is strange actually, and what is kind of interesting in there, the jury members didn't know who was playing at the time, who was on the stage. Everybody were behind the curtain. So I don't know if it's a proper to say that was the fairest competition I took part in, because the jury members didn't know us at all. And there was four actually performances. First was the semifinal, and there was a 3-day final round. And in the last day of the finals, the jury members finally could see who was playing, etc. So they finally could see our faces, and yeah, I was lucky to win the first prize. And
so congratulations on that. What was the prize? Was it a scholarship or
the prize was the money, as well, the money for the career development. And the part of the money was the $20,000 plus $15,000 for the career development. And thanks to that, I could record actually my first CD, which but it's going to be out, I think, in a couple of months for sure. I hopefully in 2 months it's going to be out with the triptychs of the 20th century for the classical guitar.
That's excellent. Now, are you doing all original material on that CD, or is it artists like Bach or Beethoven or Paganini or?
Mainly, there's actually none of my compositions in there. It's going to be triptychs by Tansman, like Homage Chopin.
Okay.
By Moreno Torroba, Spanish composer, Barrios Mangore, La Cathedral, also by Hans Werner Henze. He's a German composer. He was a German composer. Drei Tentos, and also what was in there? Also Tres Piezas Españolas by Joaquin Rodrigo, the famous composer from Spain.
I'm looking forward to it. So you said that's going to come out in a couple of months, hopefully. Do you have a label that's helping you to promote it, or are you doing this on your own? And what are you using for recording? What DAW are you using?
So I was recording in Warsaw.
Okay.
I remember for the first time I saw so many microphones at the time. I remember for the one guitar, there was, I think, 14 microphones
Wow.
for only one guitar, and it's going to be also in Dolby Atmos quality. So it's going to be quite interesting to listen the final result.
Nice.
And the label is a Dux from Poland. Also, it's focused on classical music. And thanks also to Saer's guitars, the label, the CD will be out, and thanks to them.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. Congratulations on your achievements. Since here you began your guitar journey at the age of 7 in Lesno.
Pleasure.
Can you share a pivotal moment or influence that ignited your passion for classical guitar?
So I remember when I was a kid, usually on Sunday after church, we were going to my grandma's house for a coffee. And my uncle, who was living with her at the time, he's also a guitarist. And I remember the guitar, it was always in a corner or somewhere, and I was always uh, yeah, it grabbed my attention a lot. And I remember I was always very scared of going into the corner, because I was afraid that somebody would look at me. I could destroy something or whatever. And I remember if there was nobody in the room, I would always go to that corner just to touch the strings of it. And I remember that once my uncle actually caught me doing that. I remember that I started crying, etc. But it happened that it wasn't a problem at all, and it's actually how it started. It grabbed my attention a lot, and also I remember when I was 3 or 4 years old. Also, I got my first guitar, wooden guitar. It was like, I don't know, like maybe 50 centimeters. So in the
Like a student guitar, you know? Yeah.
not even a student guitar, but somewhere in between, let's say,
Right.
somewhere between the student and the unprofessional instrument. And I remember it was my favorite toy for everything. I would take it everywhere, and I would just have fun with it. I didn't know any chords, I didn't know anything, but I would just
Yeah.
strumming.
Was anybody in your family musical besides your uncle? Did your uncle show you any chords or anything to get you started? Or how did you get started
Uh,
actually learning?
I remember he showed me some chords right before I went to the music school, so at the age of 7. And I got my first guitar then, and it actually really I started learning when I was 7. But before that, I was just let's just say fooling around with the instrument.
Yeah.
And, yeah,
I remember when I got my first guitar, I was probably about 7 and I didn't know what I was doing. I remember that the tuning pegs, I thought you just kept turning them until it was as tight as possible, you know? So I broke a bunch of strings. And then I remember I had a guitar with a whammy bar on it. And I remember I was like doing this, you know, and broke the neck in half and stuff. So yeah, I didn't get started until officially probably until I was about 12. But yeah, I remember always having an interest in it myself. So it was kind of inevitable, you know, that I play guitar. And it sounds like the same thing for you, you know, that it was obviously something you were interested in at an early age, and it just took somebody showing you a few chords to get you started. All right,
yes.
so so you'd say that was probably the biggest influence on your turning point when you actually fell in love with classical music, or was it just your
Actually, I wanted first I wanted to play an electric guitar, because in music school in Poland, it's necessary to use the classical one and to learn the classical music. And there wasn't at the time any jazz department or anything like that. Just the classical music. You could get the classical music degree. So I when I was in the first actually I think it's I was when I was 7 on my first year. I remember that I was watching in a TV guys who would have the classical who would have the guitar, electric guitar on a like on a belt, and they could stand up and play, and I wanted to do the same. So I don't know how to say it. I took the hammer and I took the, how do you call those little like little stick I wanted to put on the back of my guitar so I could put the belt on my classic and stand up and playing with it. So I destroyed my first guitar, actually professional and completely, because I wanted to stand up and playing. But then after that, when I was probably 10 years old or 11, I fall in love with classical music, and I finally started to, maybe not really to understand, but I started to like it more and more, and I really fall in love with it. Also, I think the competitions and the competitions helped me a lot with it, because it was some kind of the uh, motivation and uh, for me, and when you see when you get the attention because of that, it somehow naturally became I don't know, something natural, and
It was helping you to build your confidence in it, and the more confidence that you got, that you the more that you got into it, right?
yeah,
To that style of music. Now, you're telling me that you went to school for music starting at the age of 7.
yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. What was the name of the school?
Roman Maciejewski Music School in Leszno.
Now, studying under Professor Łukasz Kropaczewski. Did I say that right?
Kropaczewski, Łukasz Kropaczewski, but I started with study with him when I was 19.
Wow. So who did you originally start with when you were like 7? Was he a major influence on your classical technique?
I remember for Christmas I got the CD. I think it was produced by Naxos.
Mm-hmm.
Naxos, and the title of that CD was Cavatina, and I remember listening to it all the time. But all the time, every free moment I got, I would just listen to it. So the compositions which were in there, like the Recuerdos de la Alhambra, for example, by Francisco Tárrega, it influenced me a lot. But if we are talking about the guitarist, maybe the classical guitarist, I also remember listen to my future professor at the time. I mean, Łukasz Kropaczewski, also his CDs, and Marcin Dylla, and also Manuel Barrueco, and also that there are so many of them that I would listen. I was in love with the sound of the instrument, and
So you got to study under a professor that you literally admired before you got to meet with him. So that must have been a major inspiration, right?
Yeah.
That must have been awesome. Now it says here you were at the Academy of Music in Poznan.
Yeah,
And
Paolo Pegoraro.
all right, and that must have been formative for you. How did these experiences shape your musical perspective in studying at these schools?
So when I started with Łukasz, and after many years, what I'm very grateful, I think Łukasz really taught me a process of study the piece that I'm working on, and I think this is the most important thing that he taught me, beginning from the just reading from the just reading the scores till the dynamics and the detail
Mention the detail.
that are in that music.
Yeah.
I wasn't just focused on the notes. He taught me
He taught you dynamics and that there's specific ways that you approach playing the classical guitar that offer different dynamics that's crucial in classical guitar music. And so apparently the attention to detail is what you're saying. And that obviously reflects in your practice routine as well, right? So you started off with good habits as far as practicing habits go. So that's pretty awesome. And how would you say that these experiences are reflected in your own personal life? Like for me, the attention to detail and the focus and always pushing myself to do better, and the self-discipline that I got from that, and the confidence that I would get from actually being able to play a piece really carried over into my personal life. So would you agree that music is therapeutic as well,
Oh, for sure.
that it can definitely help you to progress and helps in your development as an individual? And in what ways do you feel that music has helped you?
The first example that's coming to my mind is actually the jazz guitar. When I really started to do it at the pandemic time, when there was no concert, no competition, nothing at all, I had to really start to do something, and I wanted to learn something new. Uh, Also, as a musician, of course, I could improvise a bit, or I could play some random notes or whatever, but maybe the word ashamed is maybe too big for that. But I was feeling a bit of a bit of a shame that I am a musician, and I cannot do it on a proper level. So I started to do this, and it really helped me a lot with let's say with the darker at the darker times for.
It was a healthy, positive outlet for you. Did you learn jazz on your own, or did you have a teacher that helped you with that as well?
I wanted to first I started to do it on my own, and then I had a friend who was studying the jazz guitar at the music academy here in Poznań, and I decided that I wanted to maybe learn something new, maybe I don't know something or whatever, and I had the one classes with him. He told me that maybe I could go study jazz guitar here in with the professor. David Kostka is actually his name. After 1 year of thinking really what to do, I went and I played on an exam, and I passed all the tests, and I started to study here the jazz guitar on our music university in Poznań.
I haven't studied jazz myself, but I heard that the jazz music theory is probably one of the most difficult to learn because of jazz being so moving and so much of improvised. So it's kind of hard to learn the jazz theory behind it, because you watch some of these guys play and they don't even know what they're going to do next, and they know how to follow the rest of the band. How do you feel about the improvising when it comes to jazz? And do you find that challenging? How do you approach being able to do that?
I think the main thing is to be focused. We focus on a stage, and when you're practicing, you need to be also always conscious of what you're doing, and do it very, very slowly. So you're conscious of every sound, of every chord you do, of every arpeggio you play. And then while you are on stage and improvising, I think the best way, as also in a classical guitar, I would compare it to the same level, that the best thing to do is not to think at all, and just to listen, and it's the most important thing. If you did all of the work you could do, and learn all the arpeggio and scales, etc., there's just no point of thinking, and just to listen what others have to want to say.
Really, it's about having a good ear, right? You really have to really have to listen to be able to follow along, because again, it's improvised. So if they're playing like a a minor seven chord or something, you can hear that, right? And then you'll play, let's say, an arpeggio during that point. So you have to be on your toes too, right? You have to really be, like you said, in the moment and really listen to what you're doing and listen to everybody else. So, and that's important, I think, in general in music, you know, to as far as playing in a band. Were there any particular musical pieces or artists that captivated you during the formative years and steered you towards classical guitar? I think you mentioned, you know, a little bit of this, but who really, really inspired you when it comes to classical guitar to really pursue classical?
For example, before going to the music university, I was listening to classical guitar a lot, like really a lot. It was main instrument I would listen to, and but when I got accepted to the Poznan Music University here to the class of Łukasz Kropaczewski, at the first meeting we had, he told me to not to listen classical guitar.
You know why that was?
Maybe not to be inspired, because you can be always inspired by anybody, but he did wanted me to have my own my own language, my own style, to develop my own thing.
Voice. Yes, develop your own voice, right?
Yeah, exactly like that.
That's important. That's crucial. I mean, that's a great teaching method. I've never thought of teaching somebody like that for them to develop their own voice in that way, because you know, for me, it's been being inspired by all of these different artists, and then you take a little bit from each artist, and then you develop your own voice. You know, and sometimes it takes years and years and years for that to happen. And he started you right off immediately to develop your own voice by not listening to other people and to finding out what it was that you liked on your own. And I think that's great advice. Now, do you feel like you've developed your own voice as a result of that?
Yes, I got inspired by many other things, by many other musicians who were not a guitarist. So I remember at the time I was listening a lot of piano. My favorite artist at the time, I remember, it was a Daniel Trifonov, who is I still admire him till this day. I was listening to Jordi Savall, Jean Rondeau. I would actually mention also Christian Zimmermann.
Okay.
Christian Zimmermann he's not German. He sounds like he's German, but he's a Polish actually. So Christian Zimmermann. There's really a lot of artists that I would listen to, and it's hard to mention everybody. But
Now, I know we discussed some of your achievements.
usually at the competition in Alessandria, you mentioned the Pitaluga competition. There are 3 rounds of performances. The first round is a solo round. Second round is also solo round. And the third round is or with the orchestra, symphonic orchestra, or with quartet. And the last edition was with the quartet, and there was 2 compositions you could choose. So I chose the Tedesco because I know it's a great piece, very well written, kind of hard to play, but I always wanted to do it. And I remember I didn't really have much time of practicing that before the competition, because they actually 1 month before, or not even 1 month before, maybe 3 weeks before the Pitaluga competition, I was on some other competition that I have to prepare for. So I was preparing for that previous competition. So actually, the time that I finally got for preparing for Pitaluga competition, it was maybe like 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and I had to learn it and play it all by heart on stage. And I remember doing it was actually kind of funny, because I would never recommend it to anybody. For example, to listen all the time to one recording of the piece. So you have to learn it. But I had to do it. So I would just hear it in my head, and then maybe somehow, if I, for example, got mistaken somewhere during the piece on the stage, I would just remind of the melody and play all the thing by ear or whatever. And so the thing I would do, I would, for example, go for a morning run to the park, and I got, of course, my headphones, and I would listen to, for example, just to the first movement of the piece for, I don't know, 5 times. It was actually the main preparation actually for this competition. Listening to the piece, and of course I was practicing a lot for 4 weeks break I got.
Is it a long piece?
This, I think 25 minutes, something like that.
That's a lot to remember, huh?
A lot of notes.
So of course you got to listen to it over and over and over again to familiarize yourself with the different movements and everything. And how do you prepare to play with the orchestra or the quintet? So when you go up there, you're just kind of hoping that you're going to do your best and, be able to do a good job. So you said you would forget a couple of parts and then just focus more on the melody. How did that work out for you with the orchestra and the quintet?
I remember I forgot one part, and I remember I didn't play maybe a couple of notes in a piece, but
Do they give you like a dirty look when you're messing up?
no. Actually, they were quite good musicians in the quartet, so they also catched me somewhere during a piece, and they were listening to me, so we were listening to each other, and unfortunately, we got only 2 rehearsals. It's not a lot, but it was a great experience for the first time I was playing with the quartet. So
it's awesome. Now, with over 20 competition wins across Europe, wow! Congratulations on that. How do you perceive the role of competitions in a classical musician's development and exposure?
nowadays, unfortunately, the competitions are very important, especially for the classical musician. If you don't have a lot of opportunities to play in front of the audience, and you have to have that contact with the audience, you have to play. I mean, you have to play. So every opportunity, if there is, you have to just take it and play. And it's also the great, as I said, I think before, it's a motivation.
Yeah.
For you to practice and actually to do something.
Yeah.
So
you have to play in front of all these people, and it's a competition, and obviously, you have all these people watching you, so you definitely want to perform to the best of your ability. So that itself is a motivation for you to want to play your best.
Exactly. Yes.
That's great. Now, when choosing pieces to perform or record, what factors influence your selection? You gravitate towards certain composers or styles?
Not really, I would say. I prefer to play the compositions that were originally composed for the classical guitar. I don't like to play transcriptions or arrangements. I like to play something that was already in the mind of composer who composed it. So actually, I can only look from the 19th to the 21st century. And so mainly if you look at my recital repertoire, there are mainly 20th century pieces and the 19th century pieces. I don't really play Baroque or Renaissance, etc. I mean, if I have to play, for example, there is this compulsory in a competition program that it's necessary to play Bach, then of course I would play it.
That's pretty cool. Can you discuss particularly challenging piece you've mastered and the techniques that you've employed to overcome its difficulties?
Before the competition in Baltimore, there was one compulsory etude by Heitor Villa-Lobos, and it was an etude number 7, I remember. And actually, this piece was actually the first main reason before I didn't want to go for the first time it was announced, the competition was announced, because it was too hard, and it was I knew that I will not play it. It's too hard for me, blah blah blah, etc. So I had to have some way to finally to do it,
Right.
and to do it, and And the thing I did, there is, in the end of that piece, there's the part of legato that you have to use your pinky a lot, and you have to do that all the time like this, like it trills,
Oh,
like
yeah.
ornament trills. And on a classical guitar, especially if it's I think the half of the page is actually just only that, it's really hard with the strength.
Yeah.
So I would really try to get stronger with my pinky, and I used a lot of equipments. Not only I didn't use only the guitar, and I wouldn't just practice with the guitar. I would just also use there's a Dadario,
The hand thing.
this thing,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this thing like that. So I would use that a lot. Also, I would do a lot of exercises on the guitar just without any harmonic sense, just to be stronger with the muscle, with the abductor as well. This thing helped me actually a lot, and eating more protein, etc. And
For me, when I was practicing, I always believed that it had a lot to do with the strength in your fingers. And once you got that strength, to kind of back you up, you can pretty much accomplish anything. So I used to practice a lot of just legato technique. Like I would take a scale and do like the first three notes of the scale, all legato, and then back down. And then I'd add a note to the scale and do four notes to the scale and back down until, I'm doing the entire scale. And so constantly just legato, up, down, up, down, up, down. And there's a book that I have. Now, this is Salvador Single String Studies right here. So this goes through every single scale. All right. One octave major scales and variations. And that's where I kind of got the idea, practice the way that I was explaining to you, where you add a note and then you go back down. And he does this with every single scale. So it really develops the strength in your fingers. Once I would do that, because I would always warm up that way, just legato, doing legato stuff to get my fingers into shape and to gain that strength, before I would practice anything else. So I have the strength in my fingers. Now I can pretty much achieve anything I need to. And this book, if you ever get a chance to get a copy of it, you should, because it's excellent for practicing and developing your legato. But yeah, it's a great book, man. It really is. So, and I think it would definitely help you to achieve that strength in your fingers that you're talking about. But that one piece that you're talking about sounds really difficult. So trills, with your pinky throughout however, many measures. That sounds like it was hard.
now I actually remember, maybe I did something different with that pinky. Maybe I didn't use it, and
Okay.
probably I was using to the trill.
What's happening? Like this.
No. I was using the middle finger and the third finger, actually, probably like I had the barrette,
The stronger fingers, yeah.
the stronger finger, so I
Yeah,
wouldn't.
whatever it takes though to get it done, whatever it takes to accomplish it. Yeah, I've had to work through challenges like that myself. What does a typical practice session look like for you when you practice? How do you structure your practice to maintain and enhance your skills? Now, you already brought up that hand thingy, the
Yeah.
aerial thing. I used to use that too when I'm younger.
There's not really a typical practice session. I practice usually when I have time, and sometimes unfortunately I don't have the time. But I would say routine really starts 2 weeks or 3 weeks before some performance I had to do. So now, for example, I'm before the competition, and I'm really starting getting into that routine, and it doesn't matter if it is in the morning or it is in the evening. I would just try to play everything as slow as possible, with being very conscious of every movement. Sometimes even if I'm practicing the piece, I would put on a 30 BPM, and I would play the piece.
Use a metronome.
Yeah, with the metronome, 30 BPM. It would take me, for example, the 5 minute piece, it takes me half an hour to play the whole the piece, really. So
It's not about speed, it's about playing every note perfectly, you know? And I think it's a lot harder to play at a slower speed than it is, or a slower tempo than it is to play it up to speed, because when you play it slower, you have no choice but to fret the notes properly. You have no choice but to, pick every single note properly. And so that's a great uh, way to practice. Your routine is more focused on whatever piece you're doing at the time, right?
as well, before any performance, I would do also that strength exercises that I was talking about. For example, for the pinky,
Yeah.
major for the pinky.
Your
So,
fingers need to be strong.
yeah, some strength exercises, and it's it's actually, yeah, this is the main thing I would do before the performances. Being focused on the strength. And so I would treat my left hand as it would as I would go, or the practice session, I would treat it as I would go to the gym, for example. So I would treat it like that. And there's also that part when you have to be focused on the interpretation, and but you can all put it into that
Yep.
slow
And
tempo
your own
music.
interpretation. You're right. That's great, man. Musicians often face periods of stagnation, like you hit a brick wall and you kind of feel like you're going nowhere. How do you stay motivated and continue progressing during such times? Like, you said the epidemic, and you had to find something to keep you focused and busy and motivated. So, when you're facing times like that where it's just you're stagnated, how do you stay motivated?
The competitions actually keep me motivated, unfortunately. But if, for example, I don't have any concert, for example, planned in the future, I have to find again. I have to find something that I can perform in front of the audience. So competition is that part. Also, also if I look at the other part of me, for example, playing the electric guitar, uh, also it's I want to progress, of course, all the time. There is nothing that I would learn the arpeggio ups and down, and I know everything. I have to. There's so many ways of progressing in a jazz music. It's a
Love the
it's
challenge.
it's a never-ending process.
That's
Yeah, so
nice.
I know that I would never stagnate. I know never
Never get
stagnate.
bored. You'll never get bored, right?
Well,
Yeah. So that's awesome. You obviously find ways to keep yourself motivated by looking forward to challenges that you give yourself, like the auditions. So you're constantly challenging yourself, is what it sounds like to me. And that's great, man. That's awesome. That's fine. Now, can you share a humorous or unexpected incident that occurred during a performance?
yeah, I remember one. I remember one. I was playing concert in Elbląg, Poland. It was a couple of years ago, and I was playing the recital, and there was a. So I mean, maybe it's a bittersweet. I don't know if it's a funny or tragic. Really, I don't know. For me, from now this perspective, for me it's funny. But I was playing the recital, and I realized that I don't feel my leg at all, my right leg, and my leg was totally like a dead leg, numb leg.
Sleep.
Yeah,
Related.
it
Yeah.
was just
So,
sleepy leg.
yeah. So was it because of the way that you were sitting with the classical guitar, do you think?
Something was maybe wrong with the chair, or something was not what I would
Your
usually do.
nerve
It, or
probably
maybe,
pinched a nerve or something, You get a pinched a nerve.
yeah, probably. So I think it was the last piece I was performing, and then I wanted to bow. Uh, uh, then I was going to the back room, into room in the back. was just pulling my leg to the doors, and it was just hard to move. So it was because it was totally dead. Yeah.
Now, is there a genre of music or a particular artist that you enjoy listening to, which might surprise your classical audience? Like Marilyn Manson. Let's say you listen to somebody like Marilyn Manson, you know, or is there an artist like that that would probably shock people that you like?
No, 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 no. But a couple of days ago, actually, I have to say that I liked, and now I have it in my how to say it in my liked pieces on Spotify. The list
Yeah.
on my list. Maybe it's I have a Pitbull song.
Oh, cool. That's cool.
So,
Now, if you weren't a classical guitarist, what profession do you see yourself in?
for sure, I would be a musician. I think I
No
would
matter what, you'd be a musician somehow, some way.
be a musician, or maybe I would play the piano, or maybe horn, saxophone. Well, I would love to play saxophone and learn it one day.
Oh,
Oh,
I love saxophone. There's a guy, David Sanborn, that's pretty, you know, from like years ago, but he was a really good saxophone player.
I like the Kenny Garrett. There, he's also on the saxophone.
Oh, see, I like to take ideas from like saxophone players or clarinet players because they use such wide intervals. And if you try to learn one of their pieces on the guitar or something, it definitely gives you a different approach, you know? So I personally, I like to learn different instruments on the guitar just for that, you know, different approach. But as far as favorite composers go, who's at the top of your list?
I don't really have favorite composer, but I was having a conversation a couple of weeks ago with my philosophy professor, and we are talking about the sound and about the talent, about the some other stuffs. And he reminded me the interview of Pat Metheny with Rick Beato, and he told me the compare compared to Bach, we all suck. That's what Metheny said. So if I would have to really put somebody on the top, that would probably be Bach.
Great influence. When are you most productive?
When I'm most productive. Before the competition, 2 weeks before the competition or any concert.
Phil, you were going to say that. Are there any superstitions or routines that you follow?
only only the exercises I do the strength exercises I do before the performances. Also, when I was younger, it's actually kind of funny. I would have my special panties for the performance.
You have anything like right now? I know baseball players are like some of the most superstitious people, and you know, football players, you know, and like they'll wear the same pair of socks every game, you know, just because they were their winning socks or whatever. But is there anything right now that you could say you still got those panties that you wear?
And maybe really somewhere because it's a how to
Never,
say.
never watched. You never watched them.
Everyone, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah.
First concert that you've ever attended. What was the first concert you attended? Was it classical or?
Classical, yes, classical. And I was 7, and I think it was a couple of weeks after I started. I mean, officially uh, studying the guitar in the music school in Leszno. Uh, I was playing some etude by Ferdinando Carulli.
Well, it's cool. Now, which artist, living or deceased, would you love to perform with?
One day, I would love to play with for sure with my teacher, Łukasz Kropaczewski. Like Łukasz Kropaczewski, and really, if I would think about it, I would love to play with everybody that I admire. So there's a really never-ending list right now, from the jazz musician till the classical musician, like a Daniel Trifona from the Dexter Gordon, he's already dead, or Jean Rondeau, who's still playing on the Caprice chord, or really, I don't know. There's so many of them. It's really hard to.
Let me ask you a question. What's preventing you from doing this now?
I think Łukasz Kropaczewski doesn't really play with the classical guitar duo. He doesn't play in a duo with the classical guitar. He play with other instruments, but not guitarists.
So do you think that you could come up with a collaboration with him, you know, where you're playing the classical?
I will try to convince him maybe one day.
Okay. Well, you know what? I believe in you, bud. So, you know, you can do anything you put your mind to, especially with your talent, you know. And so that's definitely a good goal for you, is to, you know, set something up with some of your inspirations. And, you know, considering your talent, I think that's a good possibility that someday that will happen. We're going to wrap this up. Can you offer any advice to aspiring musicians right now? You know, maybe in general, you know, not necessarily for classical guitar, but what kind of advice would you offer an aspiring musician when they're pursuing music?
I would for sure say to stay focused, to follow the things you like, you love, and to not go for compromises, and really just do what you love and follow your heart.
That's good advice. That's good advice. And is there anything that we didn't discuss that you would like to bring up? Something that you would like to share with the audience? Anything that you're doing currently that you know, you want some exposure for right now, or is there anything coming up in your future, near future, that you'd like to have people look out for?
So I invite everybody to look at my social media. So how to say it? Social media accounts, like on Instagram, it's a Guitar Grygier, and soon it's going to be out. Actually, two CDs is going to be out. The triptychs, 20th century triptychs, as well as modern sonatas for classical guitar by Brauer, Antonio Jose, and Roberto Sierra.
So I'm looking forward to it, bud. So Andre, I want to thank you sincerely for your time. All right, this was fun. Andre, you've been awesome, man. I wish you the very best in your endeavors, you know, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from you, you know. You have a great attitude. You have an awesome attitude, and I love your passion for, you know, the music in general. And you know, I'm looking forward to seeing what you do in the future. So keep with it, bud. You know, while you're young, you know, do it while you're young, man. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andre.